Well, half a day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the very first episode of what we are now calling Otaku Guam, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy. I'll be your host, Tony Whatley II, otherwise known as, or I guess formerly known as, the Black Critic Guy. I don't know if I'm going to still keep the name. I do want to still keep the name. I still want to make YouTube videos, but yes, we're here. We're talking nerd stuff, and I'd like to introduce our first ever guest on the show. Please introduce yourself, beautiful man.
Hey, wow, what an intro. What's going on, everybody? Jovan the Oddchild Tamayo here, former radio personality, historian of hip-hop, all things hip-hop, and of course, big fan of all things random and fandom, hip-hop, horror. I even get into MMA. You want to talk about it? I'm here to do that.
You literally just spit some bars right there.
I did.
No, that goes
I'm a
to
little
show.
nervous.
That goes to show your street cred and your rapping talent right there.
Thank you for putting that little spin on it, man. You make me feel so comfortable now.
Well, thank you for being our first guest. And, you get used to this face. We're going to be seeing this face because there's so many topics that this man and I need to talk about that you're going to be a reoccurring guest. You're going to be a reoccurring person that we bring onto this show.
Hey, as long as you guys keep paying me, I'm good.
Wait, we're paying. I literally lost my wallet. Whoops, sorry. How about some Kelloggin? You want some Kelloggin instead?
That'll work for now.
So real quick, let me just share with you guys what this whole podcast is about.
Please.
Well, it was inspired by my beautiful friend, Sexiest Man 2016, and Kit Kat sales rep, Felix Santiago. He came up to me at gunpoint one day and said, I'm doing this podcast and you're going to be in it. And I'm like, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, master. Yes, man.
I refer to him as the Grandmaster, Otaku Grandmaster.
He is actually not a Grandmaster, but he is the father of the anime conventions here on Guam, because he was one of the first. He was a pioneer. Whether he wants to accept it or not, he was a pioneer. And once again, he's putting on his pioneer pants because he's out to explore the world of podcasting. And he reached out to me, he reached out to my friend Raf, and reached out to you as well to do this podcast series where basically we get to talk to a lot of big names here on Guam in the nerddom, the nerd community, just about usual topics dealing with anime, film, music, comic books, all things nerd culture, right?
That's what we're here to do.
And it's a beautiful thing that he gave us this opportunity, or that he even came up with this idea, because I've always wanted to do a podcast. I was too damn lazy to do it myself. So finally, he kicked me into gear. In fact, if there's one thing, I know I'm going to get a little sentimental right here real quick. Felix, he has been my biggest supporter. He was the guy that gave me my opportunity to shine and host my very first event. Because I did this thing called EpicCon, which is where I met this beautiful man. But I wasn't really the host. I was more of a special guest. Felix said, you know what? You got some spunk, kid. You got some energy. I would like for you to host my event. And ever since then, I'm ride or die with this guy,
Absolutely.
He put his neck out for me, and I never want to fail him. I always want to help him with every endeavor. And, it's a beautiful thing. And he helped me to connect with such great people. Got me to see you again. That's always a wonderful thing.
Thank you, sir.
And that's what this whole podcast is going to be about. It's going to be about sharing experiences, meeting new people, getting some new perspectives. It's going to be exciting, honestly. And as somebody that grew up in the nerd community here on Guam and not being able to show it as much, this would be a great venue to really get those thoughts, those opinions out there.
Absolutely. And, same for me, not to try to outdo you, good sir, but, Felix and Darlene Vahil and everybody with the team, I'm another guy that they brought in. And ever since then, as a former radio personality, I've been trying to find my way through this world, trying to find a new platform to express myself and all the things I love within the fandoms. And they gave me that. And here we are now, like 10 years later, still doing the shows with them. And as soon as they said the podcast with my man right here, I'm all in, baby. I'm all in.
Sign me up,
Let's
baby.
Let's do this.
Wonder Twin Powers activate.
Do they turn right?
Form of
something. What are they?
A form of a mic.
Yeah.
Shape of a sound wave.
Form of a podcast.
Well, anyway, we're about to get into this thing. We're going to get into some news, big time news that have been coming out, some nerd news. Then we're going to get into our main topic, the big fight of the night. Comics versus Manga.
Uh-oh.
And then we're going to end it with a little bit of talk about Birds of Prey, our thoughts about it. Now, disclosure, we haven't seen it, but we will share our thoughts on the film itself and the message behind it. And then we'll do a final closing and wrap it up. So, you ready to get this started?
Do it, baby.
All right, let's get it. So, Jovan,
So, Tony,
are you ready to get into some nerd news?
let's get into some nerd news. What's going on in the nerd news world? What's up, man?
I'm about to hit you with the double N's. Nerd news, baby. I'm rolling with that. That's going to be, Felix is going to be the new thing, the double N. We're going to hit them with the double N. So the first news story we're going to talk about, this one really hits home for me. Dragon Ball Z Abridged comes to an abrupt end after 60 episodes and 12 years. The creators released a video a couple days ago basically telling their audience, their fans, that they've reached a point where they've peaked with Dragon Ball Z Abridged and the creativity is just not there. They got a bit of a burnout with Dragon Ball Z Abridged. After doing it for 12 long years, they just don't find the same excitement in doing it, and they don't want to just half-ass it, which I can applaud.
Totally.
And as somebody that also is a YouTuber and is currently dealing with his own burnout on YouTube, I totally sympathize with their situation. When you do something for a very long time, and the creativity is just not there, you don't want to force it. You force it, and it's not going to feel natural like it used to. I mean, I'm sure can you talk on like burnout and stuff like that?
I agree. You know, formerly as a musician who, you know, a lot of my livelihood was based around I had to play constantly, you know, and music's, you know, something you love, you know what I mean? You do it, you enjoy letting people have fun. They see you having fun. It's a back and forth with you in the crowd. But if you're phoning it in and whatnot, it gets to a point where they can tell you're not enjoying it, so they're not going to enjoy it. So I think that's probably maybe the best bet for them to just come out and be real with it. And sometimes the other alternative is put it in the hands of someone who may not care as much, you know, someone who may give it that same spark that you once gave it. So I think this could be possibly the best possible end, you know, give it a good storybook ending, address the fans, and then, you know, move on to the next thing.
A lot of people would even agree, and even our producer Kai agrees, that episode 60 was kind of like a storybook ending for them. They wrapped up a lot of the storylines. It seemed to have a finality to it. So in a sense, we were given the ending, but there could have been so much more. And
Understood.
And it's actually very funny, and it's very fitting, because really a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans will admit, and you will admit, Dragon Ball Z truly ended with the Cell Saga. Because when Boo showed up, Boo was the epilogue. And it was the story that always felt like the odd man out. It was the bastard child of the series. Because everyone's like, who's Boo? What is this pink bastard doing in my screen? And what is this? So I actually find it kind of fitting, now that I think about it, that they would end it with the Cell Saga. Because the Cell Saga itself felt very... it had a finality to it. It felt like a fitting conclusion because Goku's story technically should have ended there.
Yeah.
You can't resurrect him anymore. And Gohan was supposed to continue. That was the point of that whole sacrifice that he made. So it is actually a very fitting conclusion.
And how many stories and how many great things that we love have a fitting ending? Not too many.
Not a lot.
So, like, you know, we got to be thankful for that. And
I can name the 1,000 animes off the top of my head that have terrible
And let's be honest, even the whole Cell thing was a risk, because like, it was so hard to top Frieza. It was so hard to top Frieza.
And they did it in flying colors too.
Yes, and they succeeded. And sometimes you got to know, all right, we got away with that one. Maybe we should stop it. And like
we
you
should
said,
stop while the pot is still hot.
They knew they couldn't get any more, BA than Frieza or Cell, and so they had to go the comical route, which was Boo.
Yeah. But I'm sad for its conclusion. I still would love to see it come back one day in the future. Maybe they'll find a spur of inspiration and continue the series. Who knows? Because that's the beautiful thing. Them as a team aren't gone. They're still going to be making videos, but they just won't be focusing heavily on doing Dragon Ball Z Abridged. So
who knows? Maybe there's a fan out there right now working on that right now to continue it. You never know.
Maybe.
You never know.
Speaking of carrying on, let's carry on to the next story. And you'll love this. So right now there is some talks that Sam Raimi will take on the directorial duties of Doctor Strange 2 and the multiverse, something entered the multiverse or something like that.
Multiverse of Madness.
Thank you.
Quite a title.
Of course, the comic book guy would know the title.
Yes.
You are ecstatic about this. Please share your thoughts, good sir.
Well, first of all, I was definitely a little bit disappointed when Derrickson had to step
Scott
away.
Derrickson.
You know, because I loved his work in Sinister. I thought it was such an underrated horror film. I'm such a big horror film fan and a big superhero fan.
And a big Ethan Hawke fan.
Yes, huge, dude, huge. Have you not seen Training Day? Training Day is awesome.
You're going to learn today.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on right back into the Derrickson leaving, and now apparently Sam Raimi moving in. If you don't know Sam Raimi, he is an OG in the horror community, one of the guys who really kickstarted the independent movement in horror films in the early 80s with his great tactics and his skill, his directorial debut with the Evil Dead series and all that. Yeah, man. So he would be a great fitting, and not to mention his stuff he did with Spider-Man.
I was just
love it
about
or
to
hate
say.
it. Love it or hate it, the dude did something at a time that was precursing the MCU, and he blew it out of the water. You know, part 3, I can forgive him for that because that was the studio meddling with him. You know what I mean?
He started the superhero movie trend. I mean, you can argue that it was Batman back in 1989, but really the modern day take of superheroes. Yeah. He kicked off that trend with Spider-Man.
You know, and it's kind of a left field move from them. You know what I mean? So I'm actually excited. Let's see what Sam Raimi got.
Too, because he is the best of both worlds. He's done Spider-Man, he's done a conventional comic book movie, and he's done conventional horror films.
Yes.
Drag Me to Hell, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated horror films of the last decade and like maybe last 2 decades.
It's a grotesque movie, man. Don't watch that movie while you're eating dinner.
And the ending, I didn't even see coming because usually it ends where it's like, okay, I can breathe, and then boom.
That's the best thing. When a film can give you an ending that you didn't see coming, to me, that's a winner. When I predict everything, I'm out of there, man.
Let me just say, it lived up to the title, Drag Me Down.
All right, so Sam Raimi in the MCU doing Doctor Strange 2. I'm in. I'm excited.
I think he's going to do wonderful. He has a great cast to work with. Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm a Cumberbund fan myself, so can't wait to see that.
Oh, and also because this film is supposed to be their first horror slash.
Yes, how fitting, right?
Film. Yeah.
And that's one of the things you mentioned. He is he's so inventive with the horror aesthetic, imagery, and creativity there. I cannot wait to see. I expect like Evil Dead-esque type imagery.
And this opened up the door for characters like Ghost Rider, you know what I mean, Nightmare, all these other more the darker-esque characters. Moon Knight, you know, this really opens up that door. So I'm excited from that era, man. You know, like I said, horror and superhero comics, I'm in. I'm totally in. So let's see what he got.
Well, moving on now to our last story. We actually got a new image for a visual teaser for Fruits Basket Season 2. Now, he's looking at me quizzical like, there's fruits in a basket? What's that all about?
Can I have one?
Well, let me just give you a quick synopsis.
Please do,
Fruits
sir.
Basket is a anime or a manga series, I should say, following a girl whose mom passed away in a car accident, and she lives by herself in the woods in a tent, and she's living on the land that's owned by a famous family known as the Somas. She ends up living in the house with them and finds out their deep dark secret that if they were touched by the opposite sex, they turn into the animals of the Chinese zodiac. And it's basically her relationship with this family, her blossoming romance with one member of the family. I won't spoil who. And it's just a really, really beautiful, touching shoujo story with a great twist. And this reboot, I've been waiting forever for this reboot. I'm a big fan of the original. I know a lot of people don't like it. I personally did not like. Talk about bad endings. That was a bad ending. So I'm glad that they rebooted it, and they're following the manga beautifully, I may add. And the new style is great. I like this image. You see Kyo and Yuki, the two main male leads of the anime, and in their shadows, you see Yuki, his
the creature he's supposed to be?
Mouse form, yeah. Okay. So that's a mouse because he's the mouse. Okay. And then you see Kyo's true form. He's the curse of the family, so that's his cursed form right there. And I think it's just beautiful. I can't wait to see it. I really liked the first season. I never got to review it, but guys, I really liked it. So this is everything that I want. And as someone that's not familiar with this,
I'm holding back commentary so bad, dude.
I love it.
Man, that has got to be the most original premise for a story I've ever heard ever. So, and you're telling me it's a remake, so you know this is something that came along and then someone remade it. So apparently it has history. I need to check this out, my man.
You might,
but why is it called Fruit Basket?
because they're all like all together in this basket, like their family and stuff like that. So
All right. Naturally.
I'm
okay.
just going off the top of my head with this, but that'll do it for us when it comes to the double N.
I laugh.
News.
Yeah, I laugh now, but I'm gonna end up crying and calling you in the middle of the night saying, "It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful." All right.
But we're gonna end it there with the news because we're gonna actually get into the meat and potatoes of this, and how fitting we would end with a news story dealing with manga because our main topic's gonna be manga versus anime. You ready to get into that?
Oh man, you're just determined to start this war, aren't you? Let's do it.
Absolutely. Let's get this war started.
All right.
So,
Oh yeah, here we go.
what we're
Here we
ready
go.
for- Getting into the main topic now. Why we're truly here.
Yes.
We're here to discuss a debate that's almost as old as time. That has been, it's probably one of those debates that's as iconic as subs versus dubs.
Yes.
A debate that will never have a conclusion. And we don't expect to conclude it here.
Nope.
But we do want to see the engagement. And that, of course, is the debate between comics versus manga. Now, it's funny to really debate this if you really think about it because the word manga is just comics.
Yeah.
But the word manga means comics in Japanese.
But we're obviously being very specific when we say
Yes.
manga.
Because it's funny because this debate, not only is it comics versus manga, but it's also anime versus cartoons.
Sure.
Because a lot of people, including myself,
East versus West.
we don't. Oh, not that dangerous.
I know.
Okay? Nobody's dying today.
I'm just kidding.
But the whole thing with anime versus cartoons, it's funny because many people, including myself, we don't like to see people say that anime is just cartoons because when you hear cartoons, it has this connotation of being silly and for kids. And if you've ever seen anime, it's not all for kids, okay? There's some really dark stuff in anime.
Neither are comic books for that matter.
Yes, agreed.
Same argument.
But they're always marketed towards kids because I guess the bright colors, the over-the-top characters, the
Sure,
larger-than-life
sure.
atmospheres.
It's science fiction and,
Yeah.
adults want to live in reality.
Not to mention that anime itself, the name anime, it's a Japanese word that just means cartoon.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're not gonna call anime cartoon, but the thing is, if you went to Japan and they talked about SpongeBob, they would call SpongeBob an anime.
Yeah.
Because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
So it's really just
Talk about splitting hairs.
yes, it's really just splitting hairs for no reason, and it's that whole thing about the context of language and how it evolves.
Right.
Speaking of that, like the name of this show, Otaku Guam, you would almost say that there's a negative nerd connotation when you hear Otaku Guam, but in Japan, the word otaku just means somebody that's overly obsessed with something.
So comic books, honestly, okay, first and foremost, I'm not against anime. I love anime. I grew up in Okinawa, Japan. Shout out to my Uchinantus for about 12 years. And if anything, because of our generation, now the whole world knows about it. But anyway, I'm just saying. just saying. But now, moving on. So comic books, we want to debate. I don't know if we're talking about which is better, but I want to give a lot of good bullet points. So with comic books, I cannot ever say they're better than anime because I love both. But for me, I just think, I don't know, there's so many characters and great storylines that have lasted throughout generations of time. There's characters and storylines that you can discover and then share with your kids and then they share with theirs. I mean, that's kind of how me and my dad had a tumultuous relationship, but comic books was one of the things that kind of brought us together. He brought home a big bag of comic books. And I found out who I was early on in my life. And let me tell you, stories like Days of Future Past, stories like even the Infinity Gauntlet, when all that came to be, and I was actually buying those in the stores and whatnot, it was a way for me and my dad to kind of share a lot of stories and like how to separate life from a fantasy and how to kind of, but at the same time, kind of still take these stories and move on and to something better in life. And I thank him for that. So there's that. But now let's talk more about some of the characters. I guess if we're going to start off. Let's start off with, I don't know, maybe some of the Avengers, some of the X-Men. Avengers wasn't always the biggest team. It was always X-Men. X-Men was always the biggest team, at least from my generation in the 90s growing up. Avengers, everyone loved them, but the X-Men was a family. They were an ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? They were their own, people. And so when you talk about how a lot of them got their powers and how they were constantly persecuted by the mainstream public and the normie people, you know what I mean? It really created something for you to relate to. That's my love. That's my team. I'm going to get an X-Men tattoo at some point in my life. All right, and I'm going to start off with them. Who you got, my man? Who you got, Tony? Manga and anime. Hit me.
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z, they're a great equivalent to your X-Men. A cast of characters that are all recognizable. You could go anywhere in the world and they will know who Goku is. They'll know who Vegeta is. They'll know who Frieza is. Maybe Piccolo.
Maybe. Come on, that's my mess. Anyway.
I always say maybe Piccolo because honestly, if there's one complaint I've always had about Dragon Ball Z is that after the Saiyan saga, after Vegeta got the crap kicked out of him by Goku, every other character that was not a Saiyan becomes completely irrelevant. If your name wasn't Krillin.
I can understand that, yeah.
So, but I got Dragon Ball Z. I have One Piece. One Piece, which is the biggest manga in the world right now, and has been for the last 20 years. So that's a champion on my side. So you got those two big guys. You also have like characters that you probably have never heard of, but have been big around the world. Doraemon, the main character from Case Closed. You have, I'm trying to think of some of the more long-running mangas. Robotech.
That's my era right there, man.
I don't know if Robotech got a manga. That'd be interesting.
I don't know either. I would be surprised if they
didn't.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, because most anime is based off of a type of manga.
Exactly.
And I would say Evangelion. Evangelion has a lot of influence around the world. You could tell that these characters are iconic. And the beautiful thing is that these characters, they have full arcs. The problem that I have with a lot of comic books is that none of them, they get arcs, but they keep going. The thing is, there's a finality to these characters. They get proper endings. They're able to conclude their story. Now, with the exception of One Piece and Dragon Ball Z, which is still happening, most of them, their stories get concluded. And that's the beautiful thing about manga. There is a finality to it all. It doesn't all just keep going, except for One Piece. But, you know, that's the one argument I would make about comics. The problem is that, and we actually joke about this. We joked about this off camera that in comics, no one really ever truly dies.
Yeah, except for poor old Uncle Ben.
Poor old Uncle Ben. Give it time.
Unless you count all the remakes of movies.
Give it time.
Because they had to tell that story over and over again.
Give it time, though. They're going to find a way to bring him back to life, too.
And make him a superhero.
No,
or
make him a villain.
A villain, yeah.
A villain
this whole time he's been the villain, right? This whole time. That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it be great? It's like you hear the muffled voice like, "Didn't I tell you, Peter?" And he's like, "Peter?" And he takes the mask. With great power comes great responsibility.
Ooh. NANI? That would be the greatest reveal ever.
I would love that.
That would be from butt of all the jokes to the biggest. But that'd be something. That'd be something.
That's my issue. And the thing is, they have to constantly revamp these heroes. To the point where sometimes it feels like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel with them. They have run out. They are creatively bankrupt with these characters. And that's the problem with the serialization. You have to come up with a new conflict.
Sure.
You got to give them a new thing to worry about. They have to go through a new character arc. It's so exhausting almost at one point.
It is. And I don't know if you're speaking specifically with manga, but I know with comic books, like there's definitely an exhaustion. There's a fatigue with that. Not with just the films, but they're constantly rebooting, I swear. It almost seems like every year it's like we're starting over again. It's brand new.
Supposed to be defending comic books?
Yeah, I am. But that's one thing that I cannot defend. But I will say the latest run with X-Men is something to behold. You definitely got to check that out. You got to check that out.
I've heard.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the one thing too. The finale. Okay, maybe we are missing that.
So we can all agree. I won that round, right? Champion Tony. Ding ding ding. Round one.
I didn't know we were doing the for real criteria, but okay.
You know how the referee they put my hand up? I won the round. There.
All right. Okay. But okay. Since we're okay,
you want to hit me? You want to hit me with an up?
Of course not, sir. Of course not. You beat me up. No.
Hit me with a metaphorical punch. How about that?
Oh man, don't put me on the spot, man. Okay. But it's okay. You're gonna stick with Dragon Ball Z. I'm gonna stick with X-Men. Okay. Here's my thing. That what makes X-Men better than Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, here we go.
It's not constantly centered around one character. It's not constant. Everything.
Now, wait
every
a
game,
minute.
every guy, one of my biggest problems with Dragon Ball Z. I remember watching it a lot growing up. It kind of seems like all the characters, including Piccolo, will come and do a lot of the dirty work, and then here comes Goku showing up to save the day after all the rest of the team already did most of the dirty work. Nah, X-Men don't work like that. And then they come in, Iceman comes scooping in, Beast comes flipping through, and they all do their little thing. Colossus throws Wolverine. It's a team effort. It's a team effort, man.
I will agree with you there. There's not a
that?
lot of team
What's up with
effort
that?
in
What's up
Dragon
with that?
Ball Z.
Yo, I love Goku as much as anyone else, man. You know, growing up, I had the cards, I had the mangas, I had it all. But yo, why gotta do Piccolo like that? Why gotta do brother like that? Why gotta do Tien like that?
Especially
Why,
he's supposed to be
man?
the Super Namekian. He's supposed to be like as strong as Goku in his Super Saiyan form.
I guess, man, but like it's like
Obsolete.
all the supporting characters are barely that. They're barely supporting characters.
You make a good point. I'm not going to argue the Dragon Ball Z thing, but you set yourself up for failure because all I have to say is two things. I have to say One Piece, they work as a team beautifully. And I would say even better than the X-Men. Because unlike the X-Men who are constantly fighting with each other first and then they fight the villain, One Piece, they'll have a little skirmish here and there. Luffy and Sanji, or not Luffy and Sanji, Luffy and Zolo, well, they'll have a fight. Did I say Zolo? I meant Zoro. And would have a little skirmish here and there. But at the end of the day, they're always all set on a goal. They each have somebody to fight, and they're all equally as powerful. Everyone would say, well, Luffy's the strongest of them, and you could argue that he is, but I would say Zoro is as strong, if not maybe even stronger. It's kind of like the Vegeta-Goku dynamic. People always think that Goku will always be stronger than Vegeta, but I think there are times where even Vegeta will hold back because now they're besties, you know. They
Vegeta
fist
would not.
bump
The
when
Vegeta
nobody
I know
looks.
would not do that.
They'll fist bump when nobody looks. That's what's gonna happen.
Sad. Vegeta would not do that. How dare you say that?
I was just saying. But you know what? One thing I do want to touch on, another argument, is I want to talk about art style. One thing that's always been prevalent in this debate is that art style. And I know it's going to be subjective to each person.
No one wins this one. Yeah.
Well, actually, I win this one. Manga wins this one. Yes.
By the way, that last round, I thought we specifically talked about X-Men and Dragon Ball. You kind of flew over a curve there. But anyway, moving on.
We were talking about
Moving on.
Oh, we're going to truck along? Well, let's talk about the artistic design.
Okay.
So I'll let you lead this one too. Hit me. Why do you think comics have the better artwork compared to manga?
Man,
Don't hit me with that color nonsense. That's not a win.
man, dude, come on now, man. There's no way. I don't know if there's a way you can really say whose is better. That will always be an opinion kind of answer, no matter who you ask.
Oh, I got an opinion, and it's the right opinion, and that's manga
Coming from the wrong guy. Coming from the wrong guy. No.
Better, way better. BETTTT.
This guy's just determined to make me be the enemy of the manga and anime world,
dude.
dude.
You are the enemy.
No.
The enemy. I must slay thee. Slay, queen. Slay.
You could try all you want, buddy. But no, like to say who's better, okay, you know, you would have to pinpoint a specific time and era. You know, we're talking about the Jim Lee X-Men. We're talking about Claremont days, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like it's hard to really say. Like, it's hard to say whose is better because they both, at least for me, are huge influences as a young, budding, wanting to be comic book artist growing up. So I can't say, man, you put me in the corner on this one, dude.
Here's what I would argue. And I think this is one of the weakest elements about comic books. Your characters are so static, and they're all the same. And what I mean, here's what I mean.
Maybe in DC.
When you read a manga, the characters, the way that they are drawn, they are extremely expressive. They may not have color, but where they lack in color, they make for an energy, charisma, and overall aesthetic look. Every panel in a manga, from page to page, even from panel to panel, you could see the expressions. Like in one face or in one panel, it's drawn super realistic, super gorgeous. And in another panel, they can be really goofy looking and stuff. It shows some sort of phonetic energy. Manga has the better aesthetic look. It's better artistically because even though it's minimal and it doesn't use a lot of backgrounds and colors, they make up for it with expressive faces, great detail, and this phonetic energy that leaps right out of the page.
I disagree.
Whoa, what a shock. I didn't see that coming.
Honestly, dude, I'm kind of surprised you pinpoint some of that stuff, some of that criteria you're talking about. I believe is very much prevalent in modern day comics and even some of the older stuff. I think maybe some of the stuff you've been reading, maybe it wasn't there.
Maybe.
But I believe it's all there. Everything you're talking about, like this whole time I'm kind of looking at you like, all right, I'm going to let him say what he's going to say, even though he's kind of crazy.
I'll let him have his little speed.
Yeah, I'll let him feel a little better about himself. But no, like seriously, like that's all there, dude. Like you just it depends on what combos you're reading, who's the artist, you know what I mean? The story paneling, how they pan it out, because they're all different, man. Like it's so hard to really pinpoint whose is better. Once again, it's such an opinionated question, but you would really have to pinpoint what exact, like we would have to like compare apples to apples, but I don't know. I just cannot say there's a definite better because it really all depends on what you're into, and whatever you're into, whether it's story, whatever drew you in originally, you're gonna naturally side with that. So yeah, I cannot agree with you on that one. I cannot disagree with you either. But yeah,
let's get to the final one. I think we should touch on. Let's touch on action. Let's talk about action, and then finally worldwide appeal. Action and worldwide appeal. I think that would be an interesting thing to touch on.
Action, man, that's I think we're going to end up meeting in the middle. No.
In the middle?
Yeah, worldwide appeal, overall appeal, maybe that's something that we can have a little bit more of an argument there.
Well, let me hear it. I want to hear your argument.
Comic books win.
How? You can't just jump to...
Look, okay. Look at the
conclusion?
influence. Look. They say that the best form of flattery is imitation, right?
Imitation.
And there's imitation upon imitation of every single comic book character since the beginning of time. Dude, it all started with comic books. It's gonna end there. You know what I mean? Like, look around the world. Look around the world, man. Look around the world. Every country from Turkey to China to everywhere in the world, dude. They're making their own knockoffs of comic book characters, and it's been going on long before the MCU. Long before.
Hold the funky.
I let you talk when it was your turn, buddy.
He's taking shots, man. You want to take shots today?
Go ahead.
I'm dropping a diss track today.
Turn my headphones out. Go ahead, buddy.
Look, maybe you had a point in the 90s.
I did.
Maybe you had a point in the 90s, but this is
2000.
This is the 2000s, baby. We're in the O's and the 10s and the 20s. Manga anime rule, all right? I can name you so many different shows that have such anime influence. Star versus the Forces of Evil, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, Bravest Warriors. You want me to keep going? There's been episodes
I'll
in
add to it.
Futurama.
South Park has gotten on that train. You know what I mean?
Fighting Love and
Family Guy's gotten on that train.
Family Guy, you see that?
But that's more of an appeal to the animators wanting to try different things on the show.
Yeah, because anime is better. I mean, manga is better. They love that art style.
I guarantee prior to any of those episodes, they did superhero stuff prior to that. Guaranteed.
Even in superhero shows, they make mention. They have anime-esque things. I was watching Teen Titans. Teen Titans is a comic book show, right? But it's done in an anime style. Even the producer agrees with it. Don't you, Felix? You agree with it. They've done an anime style. They even had anime-esque stories. And it was done in the anime manga fashion. They didn't even follow the comic book way. Even their action was very anime manga-esque.
But now we're talking about animation. I'm talking about overall appeal. You know what
I'm saying is that because of that, the fact that they have influenced a lot of television, including infiltrating their way into comic book TV shows, that has to show you that they have made the bigger appeal currently. They are the big boys. They may have dominated when it comes to worldwide movies and stuff, but come on. That's mostly on the characters and not the wide appeal of comics. Because really, how many of those comics have people really read? Whereas if you watch an anime, you are going to read the manga. I tell you what. Especially if you want to get caught up. Me and Raph were having this conversation a long time ago about Attack on Titan. We would watch it and we'd be like, man, that was a great series. That was a great season. I wonder what happens next. We decided to go check out, see if they had the manga so we could catch up on it. In fact, I think Raph is all caught up on the manga. Are you caught up on the manga already? Yeah, he is. See? And see, that's what I'm talking about. We own the world, okay? I have the high ground, okay? Don't try it, Anakin. Don't try it.
Wow. One day I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong about it. You just said.
You can do it right now.
We don't have the time, buddy. But I'll tell you, once again, you're talking about animation. I'm talking about overall appeal. I'm talking about kids wearing costumes at Halloween. I'm talking about people going out and naming their sports teams after a certain comic book character or a team. I'm talking about people naming their bands or their songs, getting influences from comic books and stuff like that. I'm talking about everything under the pop culture umbrella, my good sir. You're just talking about certain animation techniques that influence certain television shows. You had your chance, buddy. My turn. So I'm talking about everything all over, man. Everything from, once again, costumes, movie, TV, comic books. I mean, they've been there long before it. You wanted to pick me, man. You got it, buddy. So I'm telling you right now, man. Yeah, I don't know if you got this one, bud. Don't get me wrong, I love anime. You know I do. So trying to make me a hater, man. You know I love it, dude. I love it. But when you're talking about overall appeal and mass effect on the world, comic books wins it end of the day.
I mean, you got a good point. You made a good point, Pops. But I must tell you, you made the point about people dressing up as comic book characters. They also dress up a lot of like manga characters.
Sure they do. Of course they do.
We have conventions. I've never been to a convention where it was mostly superhero characters. It was anime characters.
You're talking about the conventions. The conventions we're a part of are mostly based around anime and manga, though.
Convention. Anime has nothing. It's a nerd
whatever,
convention.
dude. It's always been you're talking about specifically the conventions we do. Otaku Recon. Make sure you check it out every single year. Road to Recon coming up. Make sure you check it out.
Road to Recon, yes.
Yeah, we'll
Don't
be there.
get me started on merchandising. Don't get me started on people going buying anime manga shirts, man. That's the in now. That's the in thing.
Okay,
now,
I thought we were
Jovan.
talking about the whole world. I thought we were talking about the whole
and
world.
even in the whole
You're
world.
talking about what's right in front of you.
I'm talking about the whole world. We got a lot of that going on.
Maybe
right?
in your world, buddy.
In my world, hey man, this is my world. It's
snap.
It's a mad Tony world. So I think we kind of we agree. I won this whole debate. I'm 3-0.
This guy.
I'm 3-0 right
This
here.
guy.
One thing I want to do to close off this segment is that let's touch on how comics and how manga influenced us. And I would love for you to take the helm on this.
How it influenced us, man.
Yeah, how did comics in particular? You mentioned that it was a kind of a bonding thing for you and your pops.
Yeah.
But what else did comic books mean to you on a personal level?
You know, on a personal level, as an MC, as a lyricist, as someone involved in hip hop culture, comic books definitely helped me personally to become a little bit more in tune with vocabulary, you know, like the linguistics of things. For example, I would read a comic book. If I didn't know the definition of the word, I would look it up, stuff like that. And I believe overall, because of the way it's written and the way certain characters speak, it made me a better speaker. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, I probably had the same mindset growing up, you know what I mean? And also, because of my dad's passing away when I was younger, comic book characters and certain hip hoppers, positive hip hoppers, conscious hip hoppers, really played a role and filled that void for me growing up as a kid, you know? Like superheroes definitely helped me make better choices growing up, even though I still made a lot of mistakes. I'm sure we all will. And just because you're doing that right now doesn't mean there's still not a chance, guys and girls. But also, so basically mostly my vocabulary and also just trying to do the right things in life, you know, so still believing in there's got to be a better way, you know, because that kind of stuff, I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about that kind of stuff really gets to me. To me, that's the real thing that keeps me coming back to comic books is always trying to find a better way, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how deep and dark, when Thanos has all the stones and it just doesn't seem like there's any chance. It makes me not want to give up in life. And Lord knows there are times when I just don't want to try anymore. I don't want to get out of bed, you know. Like, I think to myself, like, is that what, you know, this character would do? This, you know, and it sounds corny, you know, but true to life. You know, whatever inspires you to do something better, I'm all for it. I support that. And comic books have definitely done that for me, for sure.
I don't even know how to follow that up. Really,
Wow.
It was so. I'm not even kidding. It was very touching because.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I won't lie. Manga, while it has been a part of my life, I wouldn't say it had the big impact on me. Anime had a bigger impact on my life. Manga came after I fell in love with anime, and as someone that was a nerd, and it's funny. I didn't really get the nerd experience, the typical nerd experience. I was well liked in my school and stuff, but anime introduced me to new worlds that always excited me, and I always liked journeying in those worlds. They were always fun, and it helped me escape the mundaneness or even the sadness that this world brings. So that's the real influence it had on me, and even getting to see comic book worlds is great too. You know, I never even got to talk about it, but you know who my favorite character of all time is?
Who's that?
It's a comic book character.
Oh, I do know.
America.
Captain America, yeah.
Captain America.
We shared that the first time we met.
I love what he stands for, everything about him. So I guess that's the only victory he's going to get tonight. I'll give you that. So it's 3-1.
Favorite character.
Tony winning.
Favorite character. Comic books.
And that'll end it for us for this segment. But now we're going to touch on a little bit of Birds of Prey, our thoughts on the movie itself.
Okay.
We're going to full disclosure, we didn't see the movie, but we have heard about it. We have our own opinions on it. And we're also going to touch on some other comic book things that I actually want to ask this guy now that I have time to talk with you. Are you ready for that, my
Let's
friend?
do it, brother. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about Birds of Prey. Now, we didn't see it, but we saw the trailer. And we also know a little bit of its history. It was I wouldn't say it's a vanity project, but it was definitely a passion project by Harley Quinn herself, Margot Robbie, and she basically took the helm as one of the producers, and it had a very female-centric view with its film. Now, I've seen a bunch of reviews, and I've also kind of known this because I've read articles about it, that there's a big, big push, not only just for the female empowerment angle, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Don't get...
At the cost of making every single guy a douchebag or mean or terrible. From what I've seen in all the reviews I've seen for this film, both negative and positive, they have never said anything about the guys being not a single good guy. And that's a problem with me, because I don't have a problem with a female-led superhero movie, and I'm sure you don't either.
No, of course not.
But you don't need to rise females up at the detriment of men. Because if we switch the tables, you wouldn't like it if we did that to you guys. And the thing is, for the most part, we've never done that. For the most part. I'm sure there's some examples. There's exceptions to the rules for a lot of these things. But it's not the majority. Again, it's the exception. It's not the rule. And so that really bothered me, and it actually turned me off to the movie. Whereas I wanted to really have fun and see what this film is going to be about. The fact that it has such a misandrous angle to it, why would I, as a person that is a man too, want to watch or support a movie that basically degrades the very essence that I am?
I guess you're just not the demographic that they're going after.
But that's the thing. Shouldn't you reach out to as many demographics? That's how a movie becomes successful. The problem with a lot of these niche films is they only attack a niche audience, and then they wonder, how did the movie flop?
Yeah. I hear you. You know, and I got to be honest, I didn't even know who the villain was for the longest time.
Black Mask?
Yeah. No, I knew who the character was, but I didn't know who the villain in this film per se was going to be until like the second trailer dropped or something like that.
Yes.
And it's shocking that you would hire Ewan McGregor, such a fine actor,
and a nice guy.
What I mean?
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, to get downplayed like that. But ultimately, we're gonna have to wait and see. You know, we're gonna have to wait and see. My issues with this so far, or actually, I wouldn't know if I want to say issues, is that the things that I noticed so far with these films, and I am gonna see it. I'm a big fan of a lot of the actors and actresses in it. Margot Robbie doing a great job.
Baby.
Rosie Perez, man, go way back in the day.
The powers that be, am I right?
Dude,
remember that opening?
Mary Elizabeth, she's fantastic. I love her and almost everything.
Good to see her in a comic book movie
for
again.
real. Fine. I wanted her in the MCU, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I wonder, is this? Why didn't they just call this Harley Quinn film? It just kind of seems like it's all surrounded about her. That's my first point that I kind of noticed. And my second point was, is it just me, or are they trying to make Harley Quinn like their version of Deadpool? Like the humor and like breaking fourth walls and whatnot, talking to the audience. It really seems like that's where they're going. So it seems a little bit recycled. Once again, we won't really know until we see the film. And from what I'm hearing, the action is definitely on point. These aren't final thoughts, just our first thoughts.
Yeah.
Just our first thoughts.
Well, I mean, hey, we would love for you to share your opinions once we put this podcast up. Share your opinions if you've seen it. Is it something that you were interested in seeing? Have you seen it? And what did you think? But now, I want to touch on a little bit, this one thing, and then we'll get to some comic recommendations, because you got to give me some comic books.
Sure.
I have been on a drought with comics, and you got to hit me up. But can we talk about my purple boy Thanos?
Let's talk about him, man. What's up with him?
So how did you feel about his movie representation compared to the comic, the way that he is in the comics?
Brolin, I think he did a fantastic job. I think it's a little unfair he gets to be Cable and Thanos. Like, wow, who gets to do that?
Right?
He's gonna be the coolest guy on the block, man. But anyway, I don't know. I thought it was done quite well. I can see that maybe you have a different opinion. But
no, I loved it.
Okay. Well, I think it was done well. Of course, there could have been things that could have been better. I think the exclusion of Death was really a big letdown. That was a big letdown. The exclusion of Mephisto.
That was a bummer too.
Nebula's overall role in the original Infinity Gauntlet story, if anyone had read that comics.
Great.
Yes, very much. I can't even say underplay. It just wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
It wasn't there at all.
You know, I'm glad that she had more of a role, in the films, but they totally went left field with her. You know, I think it was fine. I think they did good. I think they really did good. What you got to say about it?
I mean, I'm torn, bro.
Okay.
Because I love Josh Brolin's performance. I thought he added a lot of ethos to the character, a lot of pathos. He made him actually kind of understandable. I understood where he was coming from. Now, I may not have agreed with it, but I think to make a great villain is that you make his point kind of feasible and understandable from their perspective, right?
Yeah.
That's what made him such a great villain. My thing is that when I first saw him, I was like, it didn't feel right to me. Because I know Thanos as the Mad Titan. And I mean literally Mad Titan. This is a guy that will beat the crap out of you at a no hesitations ask. And he's all about strength. And I get that that's kind of cliche to be like, oh yeah, he just cares about strength. But I thought that was an interesting angle for him. He wanted to fight the strongest. He wanted to prove he was the strongest. And that was his whole MO. And the fact that they stripped that away from him in the movies and it's all about he wanted to bring balance, that's not really what his character was. And I get it, it's an adaptation. Yes, right. Don't type that in the comment section. I know. I wish we got that Thanos. It would have been cool because that fight with the Hulk, I wanted to see a rematch. We never got the rematch.
It seemed like they were kind of teasing to it. It almost seemed like they were teasing to that.
And the thing is, the Hulk is one of 3 people in the comics that can actually fight him toe to toe. You know, the other one being Thor, and then the third one being, I believe it was Hercules. I forget who the third guy was, but I know it was Hulk and Thor. They definitely could fight Thanos toe to toe.
I think you're thinking of Adam Warlock, maybe.
Maybe, probably. Yeah. But yeah, that always bummed me out. So I just wanted to talk about our boy Thanos. I overall love his representation in the MCU. I just wish we could have got the comic book version too. But hey, you know, beggars can't be choosers. The MCU is still a beautiful thing. I'm glad that it's doing successfully. And it really makes me jones for more comic books. And speaking of that, you got any comic books to recommend to us before we end this show?
You know what, my brother, actually segueing perfectly from Thanos, it just made me think about it right now. There's a couple other comic book titles I want to talk about, but the first one, if you really want to get your Thanos fix, you got to go back in time. You got to get it Marvel Unlimited. I'm not getting paid for them to say that, but you got to get that
Sponsor
app.
Time.
I know, right? Dude, you got to check out the Thanos quest. Have you read that story?
Yes, where he finds the stones. Yes, I read that.
If they incorporated any of that in the films, I would have been a happy camp. That would have been so awesome. He could have his own film series based around that.
Yes.
And besides, I don't think, I mean, Thanos, no one dies in comics. Definitely not Thanos. Definitely not with death by his side. We're going to see him again. And I really hope they incorporate any of the Thanos quests. Guys, you got to check out those comic books. And more modern adaptations, you got to check out the latest run of X-Men under Hickman. Wow, they have turned the whole world upside down. In a way, he's still like an anti-hero. Yeah, actually, let's say yes. Let's say yes. He's definitely living on the fringes and outside.
Made him a much more interesting character.
Very much so. He got a bad rap because of the Fox films.
Yes.
But also, so definitely check out the newest X-Men. But of a little random title that I want to throw out there, Drax the Destroyer from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, you got to check out his run under CM Punk. Of all people. Yeah, CM Punk, the wrestler, the failed MMA fighter, he's actually not that bad of a comic book writer. This title is maybe a few years old already, but I got a chance to check it out just on a whim, and it's really good. It's funny. It's totally under Drax's style, and I enjoyed every minute of it. He's not trying to save the world. It's nothing like super overly huge.
He's just out to wreck stuff.
Yeah, he's just out. He keeps on finding himself in these situations he doesn't want to be, and he has to be the hero. So yeah, check out Drax the Destroyer under CM Punk.
Well, I'm glad you gave me those recommendations. But it's time for us to close off the show. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and everything must be perfectly balanced, as all things should.
Yeah.
Working in that Thanos angle. I want to thank my special guest here, Jovan, the Oddchild, Tamayo. Thank you so much for being our first guest. And don't, again, get used to this face. You'll be seeing it again real wink soon.
All right.
So, any last words you want to say before we end off the show?
Man, thank you for having me here. Thank you to everybody at Otaku Guam and Kai Productions, everybody on the tech side, the news side. You, my good sir, Darlene Behill, Felix, everybody. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll be back.
Yes, we will be back. And to all of you watching, please hit that like button. If you like this video, please stay tuned. Leave us a comment. We're going to be doing this really awesome thing where for each new episode, we're going to be reading 2 or 3 of our favorite comments from the previous video. So your comment might be included if you guys leave one and we really like it. So we're going to try to make this as interactive as possible. We're going to try to do this bi-weekly. So stay tuned. We're going to have a new episode. We'll let you guys know about the topic at hand probably a week out before the release of this. Or after, I should say, the release of this. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a new venture for us. I'm just excited to have this opportunity
for real,
to really
man.
talk and nerd out with you.
Dude.
That's a dream come true for me. So anyway, we're going to close it off like that. And from all of us here at Otaku Guam, we're going to sign off here. Special thanks to our good boy Rodney for holding it down, giving us this studio space to work in. You know, Rodney, my boy, I love you, man. And shout out to his sister, Shiver to the Shiver Shack, Shiver to the Shiver Shack, Power 98, if you can turn the track back.
Oh.
Yeah. I do that every time I say her name because, and you know what? She's going to hate me for it, but I love it, dude. She has such a cool name, but those two have been our biggest supporters. They've been our biggest fans. And this show couldn't have happened without them. So again, shout out to Rodney, shout out to Lahela, shout out to Shimmy, shout out to the entire family. They are all great people, and we would not be here without them. So anyway, that'll end it for us here on Otaku Guam. I'm Tony Whatley II, your host, and we'll be seeing you soon, buddy.